The House of Representatives has approved a White House request to claw back 2 years of previously approved funding for public media. The rescissions package now moves on to the Senate. This move poses a serious threat to local stations and public media as we know it. Please take a stand for public media today at goacpr.org. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to Car Talk from National Public Radio with us, Click and Clack, the Tappet Brothers, and we're broadcasting this week from the Bunker Hill Department here at Car Talk Plaza. Now, for those of you that don't remember
and didn't learn this in your history
and,
class
and weren't there like my brother was, Bunker Hill here in Boston was the site of one of the first major battles of the Revolutionary War. And it was there in the first 2 waves of that battle that the Americans beat back the British and forced them to capitulate.
and give up.
And retreat, which is what our listeners apparently did this week to Mike Dale of Jaguar.
Yeah.
I leave out the fact that in the third wave, the British kicked our butts and burned the whole town to the ground. But that's a story for another time.
Yeah. I mean, last week, you may remember, I mentioned that these guys at Jaguar, they've been promising me an XK8 convertible, parenthesis dark blue, which is the replacement to the XJS convertible Jaguar. They've been promising me this since, who knows? I can't remember when it was. All summer, I expected it any minute to appear in my driveway, and it never did. So I suggested that our listeners might want to remind Jaguar that they had been promising this to me. And I gave out the phone number and the fax number of Jaguar cars. You remember Mike Dale? Mike Dale. Remember Mike Dale? Let's not forget that name.
Like Hill and.
Yeah, as in Hill and Dale. And he's the president of Jaguar Cars N.A.
North America.
No.
Not applicable? Not available, more like it.
Not available. Jaguar cars, not available. But lo and behold, I get a phone call just like a couple of days later from John Bugsy Lawler, who was the one who helps facilitate the delivery of these cars. And he says, it's on the way. And I say, from where? And evidently from, of all places, Detroit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's where they're making them now.
They probably make them in Flint, Michigan. In any event, it's, as I guess, it's in my driveway as I speak.
No kidding.
Yeah. And I'm ready to go there and sit in it and go vroom, vroom, vroom.
Well, was there any note of apology or, dear Tommy, letter saying we're sorry this took so long?
No. I mean, in fact, I'm not even sure that the car came from Jaguar. I mean, maybe one of my neighbors parked it in my driveway by mistake. It's there. I understand. I have not seen it.
So have you driven it?
How can I drive it? I haven't even seen it yet.
What do you mean you haven't seen it?
I hear through the grapevine that it's sitting in my driveway. The grapevine tells me that. And
if you pruned the grapevine, you'd be able to see it.
I just wanted to thank all of the people who took the time to send a note or send a fax to Mike Dale of Jaguar Cars, not available. And thank you very much, because I may have it now, and I may have to keep it actually for a while, because if it doesn't get warm and I can't put the top down, how am I going to evaluate it?
You'll have to keep it until the spring.
I'll have to keep it until the spring.
Sounds good to me. I'm sure Mike won't mind.
Why should he mind? I mean, he wants me to evaluate this car for him, does he not?
I think he just gave you the car to shut you up.
And if by accident he forgot that summer was rapidly disappearing, well, I'm going to have to keep it until next summer.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I make no such demands on any of the auto manufacturers.
No, because there's nothing you want to drive. You don't really care. You got the Colt Vista. Sure, what do you care?
I'm living it up like Don King.
Anyway, I want to thank everyone, seriously, everyone who sent either a letter or a fax to Mike Dale. I'm sure he appreciated receiving every single one of them.
Oh, I'm sure, yes, he did. If you'd like to call us about your car or anything else for that matter, our number is 1-800-332-9287. Hello, you're on Car Talk.
Hi, this is Corey from Pittsburgh.
Corey with a C?
Corey with a C.
From Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh, PA.
Are you on a speakerphone?
No, I'm in my office, which is a cement block. Is it echoing?
Yeah.
No, not bad.
It sounds like you're in the men's room. I didn't want to say that.
I was waiting to hear a flush.
Well, we'll do our best. What's up, Corey?
Well, I have a problem with my 86 Volkswagen Golf.
Yeah.
That when I get it up to about, over 25 miles an hour, it makes a sound on the front passenger wheel. Makes funny noises.
Yeah, you have a bad wheel bearing.
Bad wheel bearing.
It's a growling noise, right?
Yeah, kind of a growling noise.
Like a
And I
cement
thought,
mixer. Is it like a cement mixer? Like, whoa, 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 whoa.
Maybe. It sounds more like a bear. It's kind of got a nice, vibrant hum to it. There you go.
Yeah, you have a bad
That's
front.
a wheel bearing.
You have a bad
Okay.
front wheel bearing.
I was afraid. I wasn't sure if it was that or maybe a bad CV joint. And
No,
I was
it's a
wondering-
bearing.
It's a bearing. Is that something that I can fix myself?
No.
No.
No. Well, maybe.
Well, that first he thought no. And then he said, well, gee, Corey might have a brain. No, he doesn't.
Well, no, I mean, it is something you can fix yourself, except that you don't
might
have
have the tools.
You probably don't have the tools because you're going to need a press to get the hub off the bearing, to separate the bearing and the hub, and then to get the bearing out of the steering knuckle.
I see.
And I think you'd be well advised to, if you wanted to do part of it yourself, you could.
Okay.
You could buy the bearing.
Right.
Okay.
That would be the part you'd be doing.
You could take it down to the local machine shop.
With the steering knuckle in your hand, those you'd remove the steering knuckle. That involves unbolting the ball joint, separating the steering knuckle from the tie rod end and from the strut,
Okay.
and then taking the big nut off where the axle goes through the bearing.
Okay.
And you take
And then that whole business will come off right in your hands.
Yeah, it's 1, 2, 3. It's 6 bolts.
Okay.
Six bolts or nuts.
And it'll be obvious when you take off the tire which ones you have to take off.
Okay.
Yeah, take off everything until the piece that's making the noise falls on the street. And then you'll have your car up on a cement block, and you go to the machine shop and you say, and they'll install the bearing.
Okay.
You don't have to use words.
No,
I mean, their teachers never told them use your words. They grunt. They'll figure it out. They will press out the bearing and put the new one in.
I mean, is money that big an issue, or you just want to learn how to do it?
Well, I have 2 problems. I don't know whether to curse or bless my grandfather for instilling this in me, but if you have something in our family, you take good care of it.
Yes, good for him.
And the other problem is I'm a grad student and I have no money. So if I could do it cheaply and do it myself, that would be great.
Well, you'll probably save, I would guess, $50 doing this.
Yeah, $50 to $100
Okay?
by doing it yourself.
Well, that's a couple weeks of groceries.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right.
Yeah.
You'll be without the car for maybe a day or two, but you have plenty of time because you're what, a grad student.
Right.
Right. Okay.
And by the way, you should do it as soon as you can because this could be dangerous.
Okay.
See you, Corey.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks for calling.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, the Puzzler answer and more calls are coming up right after this.
This message comes from Wise, the app for doing things in other currencies. With Wise, you can send, spend, or receive money across borders, all at a fair exchange rate. No markups or hidden fees. Join millions of customers and visit wise.com. T's and C's apply.
On the plus side, you get sponsor-free listening to over 25 NPR podcasts. On the minus side, you get fewer chances to tap fast forward on your podcast player. On the plus side, you get to support something you care about. On the minus side, you like challenges and think this makes it too easy. So why don't you join us on the plus side of things with NPR Plus? Learn more and sign up at plus.npr.org.
At Planet Money, we know that economic jargon can sometimes feel like speaking another language.
Yeah, like arbitrage, alpha, autarky.
That's just what's in the news these days. There's also absolute advantage, aggregate demand,
Aggregate supply. And this is just the A's.
oh, animal spirits.
That's a pretty good one. Planet Money from NPR. We help you translate the economy so you can understand the world, wherever you get your podcasts.
Grab a snack, make the bed, check your mail, or catch up on the latest news with the NPR News Now podcast. Listen in the time it takes you to do any of those other activities or while doing them. We bring you the stories you need to know in just 5 minutes every hour of every day. Listen now to the NPR News Now podcast.
Hey, what?
Guess what it's time for?
It's time for the answer to last week's puzzle and the one with the smoke.
You're no fun at all.
You liked me better when I was stupid, didn't you?
When? Isn't it because? Anyway, here it is.
Yeah. I left myself wide open.
You did.
I did, didn't I?
This comes from Jim Werner from Barrington, Ill.
Yeah.
And he writes, and I read, some years ago, I was putting my 71 BMW 2002 through its paces. Translation, driving like a moron. I think I mentioned that there are many cars to which this could happen, even modern-day cars.
Yeah. Why he chose a 71 2002, we don't know.
We don't know.
Okay.
I pulled a very hard left turn. Translate that as made a very hard left turn.
Yeah.
And to my utter amazement, saw a huge billowing cloud of white smoke behind the car. I gasped. This was the pre-cell phone era, and I was in a very rural part of the country, and I realized that I had to get back to civilization. So I started the car and listened for noises, and I heard none, and I began driving home. And much to my amazement, the smoke cleared up, and the car ran okay.
Mm-hmm.
Over time, he says, and I quote, and I read, I was emboldened as the incident faded into oblivion. That is, until it happened again. The incident would repeat itself every so often until I finally discovered its cause. And he goes on to say, other than a few routine maintenance items such as, and this is where all the hints are, I hadn't mentioned that before, such as tune-ups, adjusting the valves in the carburetor, tightening an ever-loosening fan belt, and topping off the brake fluid at each oil change, topping off the brake fluid at each oil change, I did nothing special to the car, topping off the brake fluid at each oil change. The question is, what was causing the smoke?
Yeah.
And, of course, I mentioned the hints are all embedded in the
Yes,
story.
you did say the hints are embedded throughout.
Yes. And if you were listening carefully, the fact that he drove like a moron and was driving a BMW did help it.
Mm-hmm.
And he was adding brake fluid.
At every oil change.
I may have mentioned.
You did mention that.
At every oil change. So there'd be no logical reason for you to add brake fluid at every oil change unless you were what?
Losing brake fluid.
Yes, but he didn't see any brake fluid going in. He just saw no spots in the ground. He didn't really notice much degradation in the pedal, otherwise would have been in his story.
Of course.
He was losing brake fluid out the back seal of the master cylinder. And where was that brake fluid going? Into the vacuum
intake manifold.
Well, eventually,
Ultimately,
but into the power brake booster.
Yep.
And it was a big puddle of fluid in there. And when he drove like a nut, the fluid would slosh around. Some of it would get sucked into the intake manifold.
Yes.
And get combusted, making the white cloud of smoke.
Yes.
And of course,
it's sort of oil.
Then it wouldn't happen for a while because why? There'd be no puddle of
He was out of brake fluid.
brake fluid in there, and he'd, over time, again, it would leak, and of course, he'd continue to replenish it, and the puddle would build up, and then he'd go out and drive like a nutcase again, and again.
Gee, that's good. I like it.
I thought you would. Do we have a winner?
Yes, the winner is Jan Walitsky from Madison, New Jersey, who I assume was a female, and for having her answer chosen at random from all the correct answers which we received. Jan is going to win one of our brand new, wonderful, beautifully designed Car Talk Sistine Wrench t-shirts. This is just like the one that Michelangelo drew on the Sistine Chapel, except that there's an adjustable wrench in one of the hands, which I presume is the hand of God. And I see it as God handing off the adjustable wrench.
Oh, no. See, I see it as just the opposite. I see the mechanic handing the wrench to God so he can fix stuff.
Fix everything.
Fix the world.
Fix this mess you made down here. Well, Jan, congratulations. You will get this in the mail. You will get the one size which we have, which is super extra
and you'll
large.
have it just in time for spring.
Yeah.
Because spring is right around the corner.
Not next spring.
Anyway, we'll have a new puzzler. Brand new.
Wait, she might get this T-shirt about the time that Mike Dale gets his Jaguar back.
Right. There you go. We have a new puzzler coming up in the second half of today's show, so don't touch that dial.
Not an exciting new puzzler or a... No. All right. It was an embarrassing question, and I retract it.
If you'd like to... Innocent question, but not innocently asked.
No.
In the meantime, we'll take your calls at 1-800-332-9287. Hello, you're on Car Talk.
Hi, this is Jim Davis. I'm calling from the chemical laboratories in the basement, the sub-basement of Car Talk Plaza.
Jim, baby!
Professor Jim.
How you doing, guys?
Professor Jim Davis, we have to tell some of the people who may not know, is the official Car Talk chemist. And he moonlights by occasionally teaching at that, what is that little school up the street there?
WGU, World's Greatest University.
The world's greatest university, otherwise known as Harvard.
Right.
Or
Harvard.
Or should I say Harvard?
Harvard. We are fighting fiercely. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so what do you want, Jim? Your car broke down again?
I understand that somebody called in last week and wanted to talk about distilled water versus tap water for radiators.
Yes.
And also that Ray came up with some fascinating new theory of hungry water that I'd like to hear about.
I can tell. No, I didn't come up with this. We received some months or years ago.
Let's go back to the call. The call was from a guy who wanted to know, should I put distilled water in my radiator instead of tap water? I said, gee, I don't see how it could hurt.
Sounds like a jolly good idea.
Sounds like a good idea to me. My brother immediately leaps in and says, He said, we got a letter or something from someone a long time ago that said distilled water is hungry water. It's distilled because it doesn't have any minerals in it, and so it's looking for minerals. It wants them, and it's hungry water,
and it's pulling
so it's going to suck. It's going to suck the steel right out of the block.
There you go.
Well, let's see if we can sort this out here. I don't think distilled water could hurt a radiator, but I also don't think it makes much difference in a modern radiator. Now, if you had one of these old jobs that blows steam all the time and you constantly have to refill it, well, you would have a problem with mineral buildup from tap water. But if you've got a modern radiator that's fairly well sealed and seldom, if ever, needs to have to be topped off with tap water, then it really is not going to make much difference.
Don't forget, it's not just in contact with the metal of the radiator, but it's also in contact with the engine.
Right.
With the cast iron and the aluminum.
Yeah, but now in a radiator, you don't just have water, do you? Don't you also put coolant, which contains antioxidants precisely to prevent that from happening?
Yes, you do.
And that process is going to happen or not happen without regard to whether the water is distilled or tap water. But I tell you about this other thing, the hungry water business. In order,
come on, Jim, it sounded so good. And I'm disappointed that you're not on my side.
Well, we'll look into that. We'll get a research grant and try to make some progress there. But in order for minerals to get dissolved, or in order for the metal itself to get into the water, it would have to be oxidized. And once again, there's where your antioxidants are supposed to prevent it.
But as the antifreeze wears out and it becomes less oxidized.
Yeah, well, you do have to drain it, and refresh it periodically, don't you?
Well, yeah, you do. You do. Yeah. You do.
And I mean, but what if you did not change it? Would the question is, would the distilled water be more likely to dissolve the block?
Right. What if there were no antifreeze? What if you had just plain old distilled water?
Well, both distilled water and tap water would very quickly start rusting the innards of your radiator and whatever else.
But would the distilled water do it faster because it has more room?
No, not really.
It's more hungry.
It really depends on the. It really depends on the oxidation.
Oh, jeez, Jim.
So, I mean, so have you ever heard the expression hungry water before, Jim?
No, I've heard of heavy water.
I've heard of that, too.
And poly water, which turned out to be absolute nonsense. But hungry water, I got to go back to the lab.
We can do that.
Well, I wish you'd give this a little more thought.
No, but I mean, Jim,
let's to the lab then.
I mean, this is another one of those theories. Now, I will admit that in this case, my brother did not invent the theory, but my brother is somewhat famous for presenting theories which sound so good.
Well, I'll tell you, the letter we
received, in the ultimate analysis, are complete bull feathers.
Well, the letter sounded so authoritative.
No, I mean, we have no evidence that there ever was a letter.
Well,
I mean, you may
I mean,
well
it wasn't a letter in the traditional sense. I mean, like pen on paper.
Was it like a dream?
It was like a dream sequence. But it sounded so good that Jim could have even been the theoretician himself.
Well, I mean, it was interesting enough that we had to resort to Jim.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jim?
Well, I thank you for the reference.
Well,
I do appreciate
Jim,
it.
Thank you a million times.
Even though you didn't corroborate what I feel strongly about, I still admire your courage and your honesty.
You're most welcome.
See you,
Okay,
thanks a lot,
guys.
See you later. We'll never call him again. 1-800-332.
Hungry water, my foot.
You gotta admit, no, sure. Now you're encouraged by Jim's testimony. You weren't so quick to indict me last week.
I was not. I absolutely not. Because why? It sounded so
And
good.
the truth is, that's all it's going to do is sound good. It doesn't really have to be true.
Well,
most things can't be proven.
I mean,
and if it sounds good, it's good enough.
Hans and Fleischman,
They sounded good, and they may yet be good.
yeah.
Don't count them
Still
out.
getting money, don't forget. That's all that really
That's
matters.
all that really counts.
We'll be right back with more calls and the new puzzler after these messages.
On NPR's Throughline.
School teachers are going to be the ones that rebuild our society in a way that is more cohesive. Basically, where soldiers set down their arms, school teachers need to pick up their books.
How the U.S. Department of Education tried to fix a divided nation.
Listen to Throughline wherever you get your podcasts.
Pop Culture Happy Hour, NPR's easy breezy, laid back pop culture podcast, has brought you the best in culture for the past 15 years.
That means we spent the last 15 years talking about what exactly?
Bad reality TV, actually good Marvel movies,
Actually awful Marvel movies.
reboots, pop music,
Prestige dramas.
Netflix slop. That's 15 years of buzzy pop culture chit chat, and here's to many more with you along for the ride. Listen to Pop Culture Happy Hour on the NPR app or wherever you get your podcasts.
You know those things you shout at the radio or maybe even at this very NPR podcast? On NPR's Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me, we actually say those things on the radio and on the podcast. We're rude across all media. We think the news can take it. Listen to NPR's Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me wherever you get your podcasts.
The Nintendo Switch 2 is already the fastest-selling video game console of all time. That's despite the technology behind it lagging years behind its competitors.
Without saying it, Nintendo is selling a culture.
On The Indicator, we unpack the unusual business strategy that transformed a tiny Japanese toy company into a global multimedia giant. Listen to The Indicator from Planet Money wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, we're back. You're listening to Car Talk from National Public Radio with us, Click and Clack, the Tappet Brothers. And we're here to discuss cars, car repair, and yet another great theory. Before you even start.
Hungry water?
I predict that Jim Davis will be calling us back in a few weeks with his tail between his legs saying, "Geez, guys."
I got 150 phone calls and emails
from Nobel laureates
all over the world saying, Jim, you never heard of Hungry Water?
That's my prediction.
Where have you been?
That's my prediction. I mean, I may be wrong, and I probably am, but it just sounds so good. It feels so right, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Hungry Water. I'm hungry. Hungry. Go ahead.
This is from Joel Newman.
Snap it up, will you? I got a lengthy
One morning, I was driving my brand new Honda Civic down the interstate en route to Charlotte, the Charlotte Auto Fair, listening to Weekend Edition on public radio. Weekend Edition ended and your show came on. Since I was not yet thoroughly familiar with my new car, I was reluctant to fiddle with the dashboard knobs while driving at highway speeds. Thus, I did not change the station. During your show, a woman called to say that she had dented her car and then allowed her husband to believe that someone else had done it.
I remember it well.
Remember that? She asked
Volkswagen, bus.
Yeah?
Vanagon,
yeah. She asked if she should confess to her husband. You said no. Later in the conversation, it came out that her husband was a Car Talk listener, and she planned a ruse to prevent him from hearing her conversation with you. With that additional information, you changed your answer and told her to confess.
Yes.
I remember that too.
When you think you're going to be caught, confess.
I assume for the purpose of the discussion that follows that you were correct on both counts. That the answer to her question in the abstract was no, but the answer to the very same question when asked out loud was yes.
Aha.
I think that you have stumbled upon an important new principle.
Why stumble?
Yeah. You are probably familiar with Heisinger's uncertainty principle.
Heisinger's? No, who's Heisinger's? Who's the guy the guy that owns a Blockbuster? Heisinger.
the Heisinger.
Werner Heisenberg.
He says Heisinger.
Heisinger's good. Right. Maybe that's another one.
It is the Heisenberg uncertainty principle that certain aspects of subatomic particles cannot be measured accurately. For the very process of measurement changes the particles.
There you go.
I believe that you have discovered a related principle. In Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, the very act of measurement changes the measurement. In the phenomenon which you so elegantly demonstrated on the radio, the very act of asking a question out loud changes the answer to the question. I propose that you call your principle the Magliozzi ignoramus principle. Snobs who enjoy dropping terms like that will be attracted by the Italianate Magliozzi, followed by the Latinate ignoramus. I predict that this new principle will have many valuable applications, particularly in the field of politics. I congratulate you on your addition to the store of human knowledge. Joel Newman, Winston-Salem, North Carolina. The very act of asking a question out loud changes the answer to the question.
Absolutely. We've been mipped.
Mipped?
Mipped. Magliozzi, ignoramus.
Well, think about it, man.
I have been thinking about it,
Yeah.
and we'll move right on to the puzzler.
Okay.
Some time ago, I used a puzzler regarding who was responsible for radios being introduced into cars.
Yeah.
And in fact, this radio was called the Motorola, and it was first suggested and, in fact, manufactured and sold.
Don't get me. No, Ted Turner, who stood outside the Ford plant with Jane Honda. Or was it the Honda plant with Jane Ford?
It was too close. It was Bill Lear.
Yeah, that's it. I knew.
However, he invented many things, but he invented something else which was popular on cars of the 70s. In fact, a car I owned had one. Maybe even a car you owned had one. It was something that you would find in the dashboard, but you hardly ever see on cars anymore.
No kidding.
Well, you might see it on an older car.
A 70s car.
Maybe a 70s car. Somebody came in with a nice 73 Torino.
Yeah, but a modern car doesn't have this thing, whatever it is.
That's right. This invention of Mr. Lear. This one of his inventions, which could be the Lear jet, which you wouldn't find on the dashboard of any car.
I found, and if you did, you'd been in deep doo-doo.
Now, if you think you know the answer or just have nothing better to do than to take a guess, send your answer to Puzzler Tower, Car Talk Plaza, Box 3500, Harvard Square, Cambridge.
Our fair city.
Ma 02238. Or if you prefer, even if you don't prefer, you can email us your answer from our website, which is cartalk.msn.com. Just click on the Talk to Car Talk section. And if we choose your correct answer at random from among all the correct answers, you'll get a Car Talk Sistine Wrench t-shirt. And when you get that shirt, you'll see that we've now done to fine art what we've been doing to NPR all these years. If you'd like to call us, our number is 1-800-332-9287. Hello, you're on Car Talk.
Hello, gentlemen. This is Kim in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Kim.
Kim.
Yes.
How are you?
Just great. How about you?
Not bad, not bad.
Good.
Raleigh, North Carolina.
Yes, sir.
No, is that the home of Jesse Helms?
Unfortunately so.
Can we talk about him for just a minute? Don't go there. The world wants to know. I mean, Jesse Helms is the guy who determines who will be the ambassador to various countries of the world.
Among other
Jesse
things.
Helms?
Yes, sir.
Are you proud of that fact?
No, I am not.
Well, there must be enough people in North Carolina who are proud of that fact because they keep electing the guy.
I wish somebody would point them out to me because...
See, every time we get a call from North Carolina, I ask about Jesse Helms, and everyone who calls us says, oh, I didn't vote for him. Well, who the heck did?
The ones that have the guns.
What is it
Guns,
with this
the
guy?
assault weapons.
I mean, I don't know the guy, but it just seems...
well, there must be something wonderful about him that we don't know.
Well, we don't know it either.
Everything that has a front has a back. and there must be something. There must be some wonderful stuff that he does that we are just not aware of.
I mean, I guess if you're growing tobacco in your backyard and you want someone to help you to do that, then he's the guy to know.
Tobacco's okay.
Sure.
As long as you don't try to smoke the stuff. Anyway, Kim, now that we've gotten you all riled up, what's up?
I have a 91 Subaru Legacy wagon I just recently purchased from my mother. Just recently, I've noticed a noise underneath the front driver's side wheel. I'll give you the noise. It's cluck, 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 cluck in first gear. I push in the clutch, and then it's silent. Then in second gear, it's cluck, 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 cluck. It gets faster and faster as I, accelerate. But while pushing in the clutch, it's gone.
Yes.
Sure.
But then in fifth or fourth gear, you don't hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I first thought it was something wrong with the tire. It sounded like something was caught in the tire or somebody was underneath the hood banging.
You were so close.
Somebody's underneath the hood banging?
No, I would say you're about 7 or 8 inches away.
This car, I'm going to guess this car has about 88,000 miles on it.
More.
117,000 miles on it.
Sure.
That's what I thought.
With my job, I drive a lot, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to replace the axle. The noise is coming from the left front wheel, the driver's side front wheel.
Yes, sir.
That's the axle you need to replace.
The axle?
It's a front-wheel drive car, so the axle is the thing that brings the power from the transmission to the wheel.
Okay.
And since the wheels bounce up and down, it has to have a way to sort of flex.
Right.
And the things that makes it rotate and flex at the same time is this thing called a constant velocity joint. And when it goes, you know what sound it makes? Clack, 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 clack.
And it'll make it worse under the greatest amount of load, so that when you're accelerating in first and second and really trying to overcome the inertia of the car,
right?
The body at rest tending to stay at rest,
yes,
it'll make its most noise. And when you're at 45 or 50 miles an hour,
it's not working so hard.
It's not working. It's not undergoing as much stress.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to break. In fact, on the way to the shop,
it'll break.
It'll break. But if it breaks, you won't die.
Well, how long ago did you buy this car from your mom?
I bought it a year and a half ago.
Oh, wow.
The last 2 cars, I've forgotten to add one major ingredient.
Oil?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Lack of.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It brings up another question, though, which is, if you buy a car from your mother, a woman who gave you life itself.
Oh, no.
Do you have any right to complain about anything?
And even more than that, when she offers to sell it to you, should you treat her like any other seller and go by caveat emptor?
Well, I had to sign a contract that I would take care of this car.
Oh,
really?
Sure. So she puts the blame on you.
Yes.
And why? But why would she make you? Why would she care if you took care?
Kim has a bad reputation.
Exactly.
But isn't it in Kim's best interest to take care of the car?
Yes, but Kim is a flaco.
Hey!
Come on! Kim is a wonderful person, but she can't seem to remember little things like putting oil in the engine.
All right, well...
Kim, you sound like a school teacher.
No, I work for Levi Strauss Incorporated.
Ah, you don't work for Jesse Helms?
No.
Or the tobacco industry?
3829.
I'll remember that, fella.
You left out a number. Isn't it supposed to be like 3824?
No, I was giving her my measurements. The only two that... I wasn't guessing hers.
Oh, jeez.
Okay.
See you, Kim.
Thanks, Kim.
Thanks, gentlemen. I appreciate your help.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I mean, I thought it was a bad idea to do business with someone in your family. I mean, would you buy a car like from your sister?
No. Well, anyway, it's happened again. You've squandered another hour listening to Car Talk. Our esteemed producer is Doug the Subway Fugitive, not a slave to fashion. Well, that's an understatement, isn't it? Berman. Our associate, give new meaning to the word wrinkled. Our associate producer and dean of the College of Automusicology is Ken Babyface Rogers. Our assistant producer is Crystal Ray, and our engineer is John Marsden. Our technical and spiritual advisor.
Did you mean, and now, right from the Grand Ole Opry?
Yes.
It's Crystal Ray.
And our spiritual and technical advisor is Mr. John S. Lawler.
Yes.
Our public opinion pollster is Paul Murky of Murky Research, assisted by statistician Margin O'Vera. Our director of new product repair is Warren T. Myfoot. Our staff butler from the Car Talk Mumbai division is Mahatma Coat. From the New Delhi office, our blues coordinator is Mohammedan told me. Mohammedan told me. Yeah, you get it. I know. Our document security expert from the island of Jamaica is Euripides Upman. Co-chairs of the Car Talk building department are Norman Naylor and Maureen Stapleton. Our evasive driving instructor is Vera Abruptly. Our director of moral support is Hugh DeMann. The chairman of the Federal Lubrication Board is Alan Greasepan. And our Leo Tolstoy biographer, staff Leo Tolstoy biographer, is Warren Peace, author of Leo Tolstoy by Warren Peace. Our chief counsel from the law firm of Dewey, Cheatham & Howe is Hugh Lewis Dewey, known under the benches and on the benches of Harvard Square as Huey Louie Dewey. Thanks so much for listening. We're Click and Clack, the Tappert Brothers, and whatever you do, don't ever drive like my brother. We'll be back next week.
Oh, my son.
Bye-bye. Oh, more importantly, like our sister. Don't ever drive like our sister.
There are trees that run in hiding when she comes down the street to go home. See ya. And now, with an important announcement, here is Car Talk Plaza's chief mechanic, Vinny Gumbatz.
All right, now listen up. You know, if you want a copy of this week's Car Talk show, which happens to be number 40, here's what you're going to do, all right?
All right, you're going to now give a phone number, Vinny. Is that...
No, I'm going to do some Gilbert and Sullivan, you moron. The number to call is 303-823-8000.
And what's the number if you want a best of Car Talk CD or other Car Talk thing?
Do you think you could shut up for like 10 more seconds? For Car Talk CDs, cassettes, T-shirts, etc., you call 303-823-8000. Or you visit our shameless commerce division at cartalk.msn.com. Now, you got anything to add to that, Mr. Radio Man?
No, I'm fine.
Good. Car Talk is a production of Dewey, Cheatham & Howe and WBUR in Boston.
And even though Al Gore calls from the White House to complain every time he hears us say it, this is NPR, National Public Radio.
On NPR's Throughline,
schoolhouses are less expensive than rebellions.
We've been debating the government's role in education since the Civil War.
1/10 of our national debt would have saved us the blood and treasure of the late war.
How the Department of Education tried to fix a divided nation.
Listen to Throughline wherever you get your podcasts.
On NPR's Wildcard podcast, Michelle Obama says she's reinventing herself.
I don't know if my ambition has ever fully been able to actualize itself. I think I'm now at a stage in my life where all my choices are mine.
I'm Rachel Martin. Listen to Wildcard for a conversation about balancing family and personal growth with Michelle Obama.
You're listening to NPR because you're curious. You want to know what the world is like beyond the surface. NPR feeds that curiosity with stories from real people with real experiences and all the perspectives that come with them. It's our right to be curious and our prerogative to listen. So keep your curiosity alive. Hear the bigger picture every day on NPR.